After months away from the ring, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, could be set to make a big-time return to AEW. I'm going to tell you everything we know about this story so far, when she could be back, what to expect when she does come back, and everything in between. Before I do, though, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well. We making our way to 20,000 subscribers on the channel. Big thank you from me. Guys, let's talk about it. Britt Baker, DMD, one of the biggest stars that AEW has, not only in their women's division, but in general. She has not been seen in a wrestling ring on television since September of last year. She's been dealing with what has been described as a back injury, a minor back injury by some, but it has in fact had a major impact on her career, leaving her out of action for months on end. We did get an update from the Wrestling Observer newsletter that said that Britt Baker was training very hard. That's a quote from the Observer, training very hard for a return. And while she is not going to be cleared just yet, she is not far away from being cleared just yet. So, of course, with that comes the thought of not only, all right, Britt Baker seems like at some point in the next few months, she's going to be ready to go. At some point, she's going to be back on TV. What do you do when she does get there? And what has Britt Baker really meant, while she's been off TV? And how has that impacted the women's wrestling scene in AEW? Well, you have to first take into account the fact that, yes, Britt Baker and her injury did impact things in the women's division, because you cannot argue that Britt Baker was a massive star for AEW. She was. At the hottest time in the company's history, back in 2021, when they were at their hottest point, who was holding that Women's World Championship? It was Britt Baker, DMD. And I don't care what you have to say. Of course, it wasn't just her. There were a lot of things happening in the company, but she played a critical role in making that scene must-see. And honestly, I think she is a large reason why the booking for women's wrestling back in 2021, you saw a little bit of an increase and a bit of a rise there in that scene. It didn't really culminate into anything great, because 2022, you could argue, was a worse year for women's wrestling in AEW as far as how they were booked. I think the talent has always been there, but the booking has always been a question. But the scene is different now. Now, if you're Britt Baker, right, you've been off for a few months, and in that time, there has been stars who've really come out of their shell. There's been Chris Statlander. There's been Julia Hart, Willow Nightingale. So many stars that have been able to really shine in the absence of a major star like Britt Baker and solidify themselves as must-see acts. Sky Blue as well. There's a lot of names, and that's a great thing for women's wrestling in AEW. Now, when she does come back, the big question is she going to be in store for some big business with a big free agent signing who is coming in to make a big statement? We know who I'm talking about. Mercedes Moné, expected to debut for AEW in March of 2024, just a few weeks away. That March 13th show in Boston, TD Garden, where I will also be at. That's going to be a fun time. But she is expected to debut for AEW at the time. There's rumblings of this Britt Baker return. If you ask me, that is a dream match. Mercedes, Britt Baker, like that stare down. You don't even need to have them cut promos, although I wouldn't mind an awesome 10 to 15 minute promo session between these two, absolutely throwing barbs at each other, which we know they're both capable of. I think that this could set up one of the best feuds that AEW could have going into the spring or the summer, and it's a must-see match that could honestly headline a pay-per-view. We've spoken about this before, and I will say it again. AEW has done a lot of good things in their time as the secondary company and the challenger brand to WWE. They have given people an opportunity to make more money. They've given people an opportunity to tell great stories and tell stories the way they want to be told. But at the same time, one big hurdle they have not cleared is figuring out how to continuously book great women's wrestling. And one hurdle they have definitely not cleared is having a main event with 2 women or multiple women in the match. That has not happened yet in All Elite Wrestling. They have not had a main event on their pay-per-views, I should say. And I think, if you ask me, when Mercedes comes in 2024, that should and will change. Because I've said it at multiple points, but it has never felt more real than now. There literally is no excuse. There is zero excuse not to have your women's wrestlers be highlighted in a manner that's even like close to your men's wrestlers. It's not even, because, well, let's be honest, the booking has just not been there for almost AEW's entire history. The booking has just not been there, and now they have a chance with all the stars they're bringing in, all the stars they built up, to really make a go at it and make AEW's women's wrestling scene the best in the world. Will they do it? I don't know. Can they do it? They should be able to with the roster they have. They're just too damn talented, and Britt Baker represents a lot of that talent. Mercedes represents a lot of that talent. Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and everyone in between represent all of the talent that you have. It's just a matter of getting the booking right and getting the stories right in order to execute it perfectly, which AEW, again, has a chance to do. Will they do it? I don't know. One thing I do know for a fact, though, is Britt Baker, DMD, returning to the company is definitely a good thing. We want to talk about restoring the feeling, and we want to talk about, bringing AEW back to its golden era, which was literally just like 2 years ago. One way to do it is by bringing back a very familiar face and kind of, again, telling the stories, telling the narrative that this is Britt Baker's company. She's been here since the beginning, and she's going to defend her right to be featured on TV, defend her place, AEW. When everyone else was in WWE or everyone else was doing other stuff, she was there. She's a foundational member. The 5th pillar of AEW is Britt Baker. So I'm telling you, she's going to have definitely something to say when Mercedes walks through that door. It's going to be a big match. I can't wait for it. Let me know what you guys think, though, about this news in the comment section below. Are you excited to see Britt Baker? Who do you want to see her wrestle when she gets back? Let me know in the comment section. Also, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, keep it real.